Hey, how's it going? I wanted to talk to you today about a little thing called workflow. The idea that when you are producing music at home, it's a good idea to do things in a particular order, and that keeps you efficient in the studio. Because if you were to do things quote unquote out of order, like say, start mixing before you finished recording all of your instruments, you might find yourself doubling back and doing things over. The reason for that is that if you have mixed something, let's say a guitar track in a particular way, and then you record the bass and you find that you like the tone of this new bass track, but you don't like the way it interacts with the tone of the guitar, then you might find yourself re-EQing that guitar, for example. And that's not a good way to stay efficient in the studio. You want to get these things out there. You want to be able to record a song quickly and have it sound good. But there are two reasons that I could think of why you might want to do things quote unquote out of order. Why you might want to use a plugin on a track earlier than you normally would. Normally, you're adding plugins during the mixing phase, but there are a couple of reasons why you might do it earlier than that. So the number one reason is that plugins can play a crucial role in the writing process. A good example of that is plugins like delays and reverbs, time-based effects that really add something to the song. You're not simply manipulating the tone of a track or, giving the track a little bit of compression to bring it, to give it some life. You're really changing the way that an instrument sounds altogether. So a good example of this might be this guitar track down here. During this section of the song, I wanted the guitar to have a bit of a delay on it, and so I automated this echo right here, on and off, and let's take a listen. You hear that? Turn it off. Yeah, so that totally changes the way that the guitar sounds. The reason why this is important, and we're going to get kind of into the second reason here for using plugins a little bit earlier than usual, but the reason why it's so important to be willing to use plugins a little bit earlier than the mixing phase is because as you're recording your instruments, you want to prepare yourself for the best performance. So, for instance, I have not yet recorded vocals for this. You'll see some scratch tracks down here, some ideas I've laid down, but I'm not even really sure how the vocals are going to go in this song yet, not 100%. But when I am ready to record them, the way that this guitar sounds is going to have an impact on my vocal performance. And I want to get the best vocal performance. I want the vibe during this part of the song to give me a good foundation for those vocals. And I don't want to have to go back and re-record vocals after if I recorded vocals before I added this delay, and then I add the delay to the guitar, then the vocals might sound different than the way they would if I had that delay on the guitar ahead of time. So number one, you want plugins to play a role in the writing process, and number two, you want the plugins to facilitate your recording process, your performance. So let me just go through this mix. Another aspect to this part of the song here is the drums. You can hear that I added this filter. So you can hear that the drums change a little bit, the guitar changes a little bit, and these changes are really going to have an impact on the way that the vocals sound. There's a few other things that I've done in this song. Also, before I move on, you'll notice that some tracks, the shaker for instance, it has some effects on it that aren't necessarily part of the writing process. I mean, this high pass filter isn't really going to have an impact on the way that the vocals sound, for instance, when I record them. But it does make the song sound better as a whole, and that's important. And it's not hurting anything for me to add this filter early on in the process, because it's really kind of a minor thing. I'm not really digging deep into this mix yet. I'm just kind of, adding things here and there that I know I'm probably going to want at some point. So although it is important to do things in a particular order, don't be afraid to kind of break that rule once in a while. Throw a plug-in on here and there. If you need to dig out some mud on your bass guitar or something like that, don't be afraid to do that early on. Be careful. Don't spend a lot of time on it, because you're gonna end up going back and modifying where that scoop is, for instance. But don't be afraid to do things quote unquote out of order. In general, it's a good rule to follow, but there are times. There's always a time for a rule to be broken. So here's a couple other things I've done. I've added this distortion here to this Wurlitzer track. I like the tone of this Wurlitzer. In various parts of the song, I like the tone. But during this middle section, I'll turn the effect off just so you can hear. It just didn't cut through the mix, and so I got this distortion plugin here, added it, and made some adjustments to it, and I've got it again, just like these other effects. I've got it automated on and then back off again. So let's listen to what it's doing. So that's really doing a lot, and I wouldn't consider that a mixing move. That's really a part of the writing process, and whatever's going on vocally during this part of the song, or if I had recorded this Wurlitzer before the guitars, it might have an impact on the guitar performance. Whatever comes after is going to be impacted by whatever effects you add. So especially when you're talking about the writing process, you don't want to shy away from using plugins early on, even if you're not ready to dive into a full-blown mix. Again, the idea is that in general, you want to have a workflow, you want to do things in order, but there are a couple of reasons why you might do things quote unquote out of order, and that's because your plugins might play a crucial role in the writing process, and number two, you want the song to sound good when you record additional tracks, so that you can get the best performance. Vocals is the best example of this, because typically I like to record my vocals last. So I like to have the song sounding really good before I do that, because I want to be in the zone. I want to be in front of that microphone feeling the song. I don't want to have a bad mix blasting into my ears while I'm trying to belt out a really good vocal performance. So keep this in mind. Let me know what you think, and happy producing.